So in this video, I wanted to take a quick look at a pair of pens in the Rotring 400 line. This is a very cool line of pens from Rotring that's not that popular. You hear a lot about the Rotring 600 and the 800 and then the 900 and then to some extent the 700, but you don't hear a lot about the 400. And part of that is because the 400 has had a lot of confusion about it because it looks just like the Rotring Esprit, which came after it. And some of the pens actually look like a Rotring Tiki. And there was a metal Tiki, which in the ballpoint, and this pen right here, for instance, I'm pretty sure it's an Esprit, but it might be a Rotring 400. But the metal Tiki looked just like this, so it's hard to say exactly what it is. So I think that has really sort of muddied the waters and prevented collectors from getting fully behind the Rotring 400, despite it being a very cool set of pens. I have it here in the fountain pen and the Rollerball, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So 400, like I said, I would say a modest sized pen. Here is it next to a Rotring 900, clearly a lot bigger. Talk about the Rotring 900 at a later date. And here is it next to a Vista, a Lamy Vista. So you can see the Rotring 400 has some okay length, but it's generally a small pen. It's a metal body. I believe it's aluminum. It comes in this sort of, I would call it a gunmetal, but it's a chromed, nearly black, like a very dark gray. Rotring is named after the red ring, and that red ring is very prominent here. Metal clip. Metal clip is also a sort of a darkened chrome, almost a black. Clip works well. It's a little bit sharp. It has that sort of old school folded metal to it. Wraparound clip, very plain on the top and bottom, and it says actually, if you can get it to zoom, so you have Rotring with the ring around the O and 400. You could see that the O is a little bit nicked on this one. It lost the interior color, which is not shocking. On this one, the Rollerball, which is in better condition, the O is intact. Click on cap. The cap, it's a little bit loose from age, and I think that is not uncommon with some of Rotring's caps. Basically, like the interior that holds them on was not really made as well as it could have been. So this is a very simple fountain pen. Rotring's fountain pens from this era were really simple steel fountain pens. There's a couple of gold ones, but you really see more of the steel. Simple black plastic feed, very stiff, heavy duty steel nib, and then usually it'll say on the side of the nib what size it is. This one is a fine, so it says Rotring there, and then it has this small little section. It's I don't know if this is called corrugated or what, but it's all metal and quite small. Pen is quite light. Obviously it's metal, but it's I believe it's aluminum, so it's very light. International short cartridge converter and metal rings here. I've seen some people talk about these having plastic rings. That hasn't been the case with mine. I'm pretty sure it's a fully metal pen aside from the feed. And again, international short cartridges. And this is just like some sort of blue. I forget what it was. Nothing, like a Parker blue or something. Not an original Rotring cartridge. Moving over to the Rollerball. This one's in slightly better shape. You can see the logo is super clean. That 400 really pops. Both the O's are in good shape. No wear or anything like that. You could find these on eBay for pretty good prices. The Esprit will be a lot cheaper. That isn't as collectible as the 400. But you can still find good deals on the 400. Maybe like $30, $40 for one of these. Not too much more though. I mean, the prices will spike and people try to get more for them, but if you shop around and play the waiting game, you will get okay deals on these. This cap is not loose. I think it's a good sign that this pen has seen a lot less action. This cap seems very solid, where when it's on, this cap, you could hear it. Definitely Not the case for this one. You can see it's a rollerball. This piece is, I don't know if it's black metal or black plastic. It's a little bit hard to tell. Same grip or section, we're gonna call it. Opening it up, we could see a little bit squeaky. Sorry about that. I have a Schmidt 888 refill in here. Obviously, it would have shipped with a Rotring refill, but this is just a standard Euro style skinny rollerball. Fits in perfectly with no springs or shims or anything like that. So, clean pen on the small side, pocketable, but not a pocket pen. Definitely not an oversized pen. It's sort of a cheaper but still dressy addition to the series. Here's it next to a Sharpie, say. So it's not a tiny pen, but once you take the cap off, you can see it's on the small side. And this grip is interesting, but it is a glossy metal, so it's not super grippy. The nice thing is that these have stood up well. It's a lot of dark materials, a lot of metal, and they tend to be in pretty good condition if you could find them. So this is a Rotring 400. Obviously, it's not a Rotring refill. This is a Schmidt. This is a great refill. So being able to pair it with this old school rollerball is really nice. It's a nice writer. Definitely not one of my favorite pens and not one of my favorite Rotring releases, but a very cool and very collectible pen. I really do tend to prefer the 600s, but you know, if you have one of those, or if you're just looking for something kind of more unique and something where Rotring really shows off some of the quirkiness it had back in the time, I think the 400 is a really fun pickup. In the fountain pen, again, very simple fountain pen. See if this thing is gonna, I haven't used this in a few days. So yeah, works fine. Rotring 400 fountain pen. No flex to this thing, or no real line variation or anything like that. It's just a very simple pen that you would use. It's nice, it writes well, but these steel Rotring nibs are really not very showy, and they don't give you a lot of feedback or anything like that. It's just a simple, reliable nib on these Rotrings. And that was the same with the 600. 600 gold nib had a little bit more feel to it, but this one is just really kind of standard. And you could see the difference between the 800, or sorry, the 400 with the 888 rollerball refill and the, I wrote 600, this is the Rotring 400, and the Rotring 400 fountain pen is really, it's not a huge difference, but it's such a stiff fountain pen with not too much characteristic to it. So if you are in the market for one of these, I would really recommend that you go ahead and pick up the Rollerball. It's a lot more interesting of a pen to me. This fountain pen, yeah, it's nice, fountain pens are great, all that, but you're not really getting a very interesting nib. In fact, you're getting a fairly boring nib in my eye. And it's nice that it's an international short cartridge, so you could really put a lot of options in there. But once it's down on paper, I don't think you're gonna be able to do a lot with it. It's really something that you're gonna kind of just bring into work and have be a very, or you know, to journal, say, just if you want a very reliable writer, the Rotring fountain pen does that really well. But it's not like, you know, writing with a great, you know, a Pilot or something like that, where you're gonna really enjoy that, the, you know, the line variation and the styling of that gold nib. So that is the Rotring 400 series. I would say it's a nice collectible pen, but not really an amazing spotlight within Rotring's history. It's just kind of cool, and it's for the deeper collectors that have already gotten their 600s and 800s, and obviously if you want to pick up a 900, that's like takes the 400 to like the logical extreme with that corrugation that's done much nicer, larger pen, much heavier. And but yeah, we'll follow up with the Rotring 900 in the coming weeks, so please do subscribe. Thanks for watching.